Good morning, it's a new day. Today, I'd like to speak on how we can choose to triumph over offenses. Imperfect people, imperfect words, criticisms, and so on are like ingredients that go into creating offenses. And offensive situations are inevitable, and we witness them in all forms of relationships. I'd like to ask us, how are we in such occasions? Do we look past those things or people who hurt us, or do we continue to foster them? More than anything else, when we harbor hurts and offenses and bitterness and unforgiveness, it's only going to harm us and no one else. You see, there are some serious dangers when we harbor such negative feelings in our hearts. It's only going to stunt our growth and strains our relationships with others, and most often leads to serious bitterness and unforgiveness. That is why many medical researches show that almost about 61% of patients with cancer have unforgiveness issues. It's such an unfortunate actuality. I've learned to remind myself to always lean on the scriptures that shows how we need to bear with one another, constantly forgive each other, just as God in Christ forgive us. Always we're not always on the receiving end. Most occasions, maybe our words, our expressions, or anything else that we do can cause hurt and offense to someone else. And that is why we need to remember not to allow bitterness to take deep root in our hearts. When anything takes deep root, the fruit uh, the fruit will always be a product of what is sown. Something that I've seen throughout the Bible, and when I look into my own life and others' lives, I see that often when we make mistakes, whether it is with or without our knowledge, we run to God and ask Him for His forgiveness. We continuously repent of all that we have done. And let me tell you, most times we do the same mistakes over and over. These mistakes that we do are sometimes could be so terrible and so repetitive. And how much God should be so angry at us, right? However, we see throughout scriptures how God is so merciful and such a loving, kind God that He's so quick to forgive us in spite of all the things that we do. But why are we so rigid when it comes to us forgiving others? Why can't we look past someone else's mistake? This reminds me of a quote which says, learning to overlook the biggest offenses actually begins with learning to learning to overlook the smallest. Today, I want to encourage us to commit our hearts, our hurt, offenses, and any unforgiveness at the feet of God. Only God can heal us and help us to extend the same mercy and grace that He has given us, so that we will also be able to extend it to others. The reality is that we can't stop others from mistreating us or hurting us, but it's really a choice that we want to consciously make, whether we want to triumph over such situations Or do we simply want to dive deep into self pity and miss an opportunity to be a blessing to someone else? May this word bless you.